Hey everyone, important Tesla update today. About a week ago, I made the most recent Tesla update video, and I talked about how the stock remains basically momentum bearish. Remember, Tesla is a momentum stock, and that it's probably too early for buying it, and that we need more time for this to kind of reestablish itself. We're now obviously even lower in the stock, and so I think so that's been the right call. And so the question begs now, what's going on here at this point? To address the question, let's start off with our trend work. So this is our momentum indicator. It's called our trend indicator. They call it the Market Rover Pro. And what it tells us is what are the trends in the markets. A red background color denotes a bearish trend from a longer term perspective. A medium term, a neutral trend, is like where things are choppy, is the black background, and a green background color is, of course, bullish. Now, you will notice if you look all the way to the right that we're now finally back to a neutral or a neutral trend from a long-term perspective. Now, it's not a trading perspective. The trading perspective is momentum. We'll talk about that in a minute. And you can see when we were in that green period, we had a big rally, and so from a momentum perspective, if you will, the stock ultimately, more or less almost doubled, I think up 90%, and then we had a trailing stop, which finally got us out around just north of 400, or just around $400, maybe 390, for really nice gains. And ever since, we've been in a bearish trend, bearish momentum, which is where I want to go to right now. So if we look at the stock here from just outside of any of our indicators, just purely technically, what you'll notice is we've now given up the entire post-election rally. And there was a lot of sentiment, in bullish sentiment in the stock after the election, which certainly made a lot of sense why people felt bullish. And now, of course, the stock has erased every single penny of that post-election gain. It's getting oversold now, finally, also from an RSI perspective. And I think more importantly than anything, that there is a from price action perspective, and I'll show you momentum in a minute, a bit more clearly. What we are back into is essentially an area that has very clearly been where the majority of the price action has been since let's say for the past 2 years. Okay. And that period or that range is as low as, let's call it the low 100s to about, let's call it 300 or 290. And we're not quite there yet, but we're getting towards the middle part of that range, which is somewhere around, I'm just eyeballing this, around $200. The stock yesterday, I'm recording this here Tuesday morning, closed around $220. $2 or so. So we're getting pretty close to the middle part of that range and getting quite oversold. Now, just because we're getting to this area does not mean the stock has to now immediately ricochet back higher. In fact, it's just getting back to where it was, and quite frankly, it could stay there for an extended period of time. And I think that's where we're at. So we're really looking for a change in momentum, which remains to the bearish side. So here is how all of this played out. This is now using our momentum indicator. It's called a TSD trender, and you can see that momentum buy signal I talked about before. The stock then rallied very strongly. Then we get stopped out for the rest. Then we had a choppy period, and finally a confirmed momentum sell signal on the 6th of February. Since that signal, the stock, as of Monday, closes down 40%, and we are still using a trailing stop, which is this purple line, for that specific position. So I personally am certainly not willing to press any shorts here. It's too early to buy. I need to see either an extreme oversold reading from our Vertical X Pro indicator, which measures extreme oversold, and we might be getting there very soon. Again, we're not quite there yet, but it's possible that we get there very soon. And then I would be looking for a change in momentum back to the upside. Again, neither of these two conditions have been met. In my view, it's still too early to go in here and to try to bottom pick. Remember, this is a momentum stock. It's a high sentiment stock, meaning people are very emotionally attached to the stock or emotionally against it, right? There's always both sides of that. That's what makes a volatile momentum stock. So that's where we are, just trying to give you an update. And again, I think the most important thing, that's what we're calling this the year of the trader, is not to let staunch views get in the way of a profit. We've had an extraordinary period of the past 10 to 15 years where essentially, mega cap tech U.S. stocks have done an extraordinary amount of heavy lifting. There was no analysis, no thinking needed. One could just own the S&P, low volatility, and make 15% on average for 10, 15 years. That's not normal. It's not sustainable. And these kinds of names that we're starting to see give up some of these gains now are also likely what's going to keep the S&P at bay. Right? We're not calling for S&P crashes. That's always an outlier forecast, but we're calling for the S&P to probably do very little over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, certainly compared to what it's done. And that is enough for a big problem for a lot of people. And so we're trying to make sure people are open-minded to from a trading perspective, which we're showing here, but also open-minded to totally different outcomes than what we've seen for the past 10 to 15 years. Hope to see you guys in our Set the Market morning show every Monday through Thursday morning, 9 o'clock Eastern. You can find more about that here somewhere. Go to our YouTube channel, and I hope this was helpful.